Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB. And Monday night, January 11th, a little after 6 p.m. Central Time, we got some people in the chat room. What's going on, Aiden, man? Hope your Monday is going well. Justin, thank you guys for hanging out in the chat room tonight. We're going to be kind of just going loosely around through the NBA, the fantasy basketball. I want to look at some potential buy and sell players. I did get a comment on that earlier. I think over the weekend, someone was asking for something more specific in that direction. And then we're going to be looking at some potential waiver wire ads this week, or free agency if you guys play with the non-waiver system. But I did want to kind of just shout out real quick. We're doing the Fantasy Fellowship. This is a free league that I started with a handful of people through YouTube or from Twitter and just a couple friends of mine. But we're 3 weeks in right now. It looks like our team Invictus here, Frank Ping, is blowing away the competition up there at 3-0. And then a good friend, the fellow MLB, Matt Boehm, is in second place there at 3-0. I had a tough week. I went 2-1 through 3 weeks so far. But we got Team Kobe. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but I think it's Hui Kong Tan. And then Andrew Bauer, it's my brother there. And then Snehith and Jim and Austin Cornelison here. Everyone's 2-1 or better. So that's kind of just a fun little area that I've been looking at there. But yeah, what are we going to do here? We're going to be going over some buy and some sell players that I think are interesting. I'm going to start just by looking at like the NBA as a whole. And basically, we're just going to kind of look down the percent rostered. And maybe we'll just click by average for season averages so far. So interesting enough here, Nikola Jokic is the number one player through roughly 3 weeks of fantasy play. I mean, when it gets to the top guys, I don't advise selling your first, your second round picks, unless you're really frustrated or you want to get someone of equal value there. So for the most part, like Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, it's good to see him back. If you were able to trade for him, I think that would have been a good move while he was out. But definitely, I'm not really looking to move any of these top 10, 15 players. Some guys that I could see myself moving, kind of get down to here. I do like CJ McCollum quite a bit. He's not 100% owned. But this is the guy that's been known as a streaky shooter. And then I think this is we're seeing some consistency here with CJ McCollum. I like his points. He just came off a big 37-point game here. So this could be kind of both ways here. If you want to buy CJ McCollum, I mean, you could potentially buy him a little bit lower than what you paid for him. He was a fourth round pick for the most part. In this league, he was drafted in the 5th round. So you could potentially sell high on McCollum to try to get someone that was drafted above him. But for me, if I'm a McCollum owner, I'm trying to hold. And if I don't have McCollum and you're really into him, I think this is a potential guy that you want, because if you look at the week on a whole, there's 7 days. Like for the most part, he's going to have one of these big games, and then his low games are somewhere in the 30s. So I do like McCollum, and sometimes people get a little bit nervous about his history, about not being consistent. So I do like McCollum. This is the guy here too with Julius Randle. I think people have gotten great returns on Julius Randle to start the season. In this draft, this is a 12-team league. He went the 5th round, 57th overall, and he's performing as the number 2 power forward here. His numbers have been great, averaging 44.4 points. This could potentially be a sell high point. Julius Randle, he's overperforming at this point right now. So do you think he can continue it? I personally think he can. He's been averaging basically a double-double the rest, like all season, and then he's going to chip in with the assists. He'll occasionally get the steals on the block. So I tend to not move a player if he's performing at the peak, because I'd like to see him continue. And because it was a 5th-round draft pick, I think I'm going to hold on to Julius Randle. But this might be a guy that I'm looking to acquire, because maybe the owner has Randle and they think, oh, he's playing too good, we should sell high on that. I think I'd be interested in keeping Julius Randle or potentially targeting him there. Let's go ahead. You can list your team there, Aiden. Yeah, we can get some 14-team move recommendations there. So Justin, yeah, we were talking about this earlier. So we need some waivers because we got DeMar, should be back next game, but I don't have Russ or Kyrie. So you're probably specifically looking for point guards at this point, Justin, and guys that should be owned. I believe you said it was a 10-team league. If I'm mistaken, you can correct me. But for 10-team leagues, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of filter by percent rostered here. We're looking strictly at the point guard position, because that's what you would like for Russ or Kyrie. So guys that are maybe like less than 80% available here. So, I mean, DiVincenzo's been playing good ball here. He's about 71% owned. He's not an elite scorer or anything, but I like his consistency. He did have a kind of a bad game here on the second night of a Detroit game. But for the most part, averaging 23.1 points in this scoring system. He's never going to blow up in any certain column, but I like the ability for him to just fill out, pretty much everything on the stat sheet. So at 71% owned, he might be available, and he's not gonna fill in for Russ or Kyrie for sure. But this guy might be a player that, one, he gets a lot of minutes, good chance at getting double digit scoring points, and then he's going to just consistently fill out rebounds, assists. I like his defense. He's actually a really fun player to watch when he doesn't have the ball in his hand. He's really good defensively. He gets blocks. A point guard, shooting guard that can get blocks. That's kind of fun. Actually, let's do this. I want to kind of filter. This is a tool that I like to use. If you filter by the last 7 days, and then we're going to filter by fantasy points per game, and then you're going to start to see some of these other things start to stick up here. So Tyrese Halliburton, that's like the first one that kind of comes on the radar. 81.5% owned, so it's not likely, but maybe this is a guy to potentially, I don't know if he would be a buy at this point. It's a small sample size, but again, this is a rookie, a really high drafted rookie here who's getting minutes on a team that we don't expect much out of the Kings, so they should continue to get him the ball. But man, his assisting, I didn't really figure this. And then you like the steals with the consistency here. So Halliburton might be a guy worth looking into, but for Justin's 10-team league, we're kind of looking at guys that are lesser owned. Is Tyus Jones available? This would be the easiest call, I think. If Tyus Jones is available for you, Justin, this would be, because we know John Morant is out for maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, and it looks like I picked up Tyus Jones in the 2 leagues that I play in, and he had his best game against Brooklyn the other night here. So 41.5 points. Double with 11 points and 10 assists. He's actually pretty good at getting the steals here. So you see a bunch of 2s, and this one he ended up with 4. So I do like his kind of spread out ability here. He's not going to wow you with any category in specific, but he's showing a pretty nice floor here, upwards of 27, 29 on a good night. He got picked up. So dang it. But Tyus Jones, that would have been a really good one. So I'll keep looking around here. But Hee Kwang, thank you, man. Thanks for hanging out. You're kicking ass in the fellowship league, so keep it up. And then we'll see if you can get the first place here. But man, I think you're the one that you might have gotten me. I can't remember who I lost to. It might have been Frank. But we're looking for Justin here. So we just mentioned Tyus Jones. And if you play in a league and Tyus Jones available, like, he's only 22.3% owned. So this is a guy, I don't care if it's 10, 12, or even 14 team leagues. This guy should be available. He's worth a start every night here. And the game just started against Cleveland, so we'll see how he does here. But Tyus Jones is definitely worth the pickup. But we're looking for guys that are specifically, maybe we'll lower our range to maybe 50, 60% owned. Let's see what Alfred Payton's been doing. Alfred Payton's, I don't know if you remember, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, this guy he had a run of like just triple doubles, and he was just putting up points. I think that was with the Pelicans for a little bit there. But this is a guy who's getting a ton of minutes for the New York Knicks. I don't like the Knicks, but I really value the opportunity that he is getting, and he's scoring at a consistent clip. He's going to chip in rebounds or assists, heavily one night or the other. So steals, blocks, those kind of come in spurts. But I do like his availability. He's only 47.2% owned. So maybe Alfred Payton, this might be a guy that's available for Justin here. He's averaging 25.2 points. So it might be kind of a long shot if you play in a more savvy league, but he's definitely worth a look here. So Tyrese Maxey's been getting some run just because the Sixers have just been kind of hit with a lot of weird stuff going on right now. So if you need a guy just for a week, I mean, you might as well just ride Maxey out, and he's only 26.3% owned. But man, he just scored 39 points last night here. You might be able to catch a little bit of a heat check of a run. Maybe he stays hot the next 3 games or so while Philly's going through some stuff. So he's the guy to keep an eye on for sure. Let me see if I can find another one. Shake Milton, I would have probably said him if he wasn't going through his situation. What's Patty Mills been doing? Because I've noticed Patty Mills has been kind of on and off my waiver wires here, and it looks like he's starting to get a pretty high floor here too. So if you can just sit with a 14 or an 18, randomly throughout the week, but I do like the consistency here. He's going to see almost 30 minutes, a night, and he's going to be one of those streaky shooters for sure. He could have an 8 or a 10-point game. But he's also going to chip in kind of elsewhere here. So you can pick up Patty. Okay. So I'm assuming that means we couldn't pick up Alfred Payton at the moment here. So Patty Mills, I guess that guy would probably go to the top of the list. I'm sure DiVincenzo wasn't owned. Let me just take a quick peek at Peyton Pritchard. I think this game got canceled tonight, if that's correct. I think this Miami-Boston game got canceled tonight, so I don't really care for those numbers that much. Let me see here. So we're kind of getting down in the list. While I'm here, I just want to say Jamal Murray might be a guy that's worth a buy low. I mean, he's playing a lot of minutes. I think he had an elbow injury at some point this year that he might have missed a game. Yeah, he might have missed that game right there. But the Jamal Murray owner might be a little bit frustrated with how things are going right now. I mean, he's the 21 rated point guard, under 30 fantasy points per game. So for where he was drafted, looks like 37th overall here in this league, which is end of third, beginning of the fourth round. This might be a potential buy low candidate here because I would fully expect him to get at some point back up to where his bubble, playing numbers were. So let me look at here. Correction, Camp Payton, thank you. And Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday. So the Pacers. Before I get to that, I want to kind of just show off a thing that I found. Well, some of my friends found it, but the hashtag basketball is a website, hashtag basketball.com. And they have this advanced schedule grid. And when I'm looking for guys to add for the week, I'm looking for guys with like 4 and sometimes 5 games per week. And what they do is they do a good job of breaking down the schedule. And then we're going to see that, holy crap, the Pacers have 5 games this week. That's big time. If you could add a Pacer this week, that would be tremendous value. The Sixers did have 5. I'm not sure if we kind of have to monitor and take that night by night. But the Sixers do play 5 games here, so that's kind of something to keep an eye on too. But I like looking at this specifically on like a Sunday night when I'm making my waiver wire pickups or just looking at guys to potentially pick up. I'm usually looking for sure games with guys with 4 games. But that does kind of sway my thinking sometimes when making a pickup here. So for now, I do like Patty. We'll see if we can kind of beat him at any point. So any recommendations, trades, waivers? Yeah, that's what we're working on here. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So Aiden's got Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, KD, Collins, Aiden, McCollum, Adebayo, Wiseman, OG Anunoby, Darius Garland. That's a good hold. Marcus Smart, Steph Curry, and Steve Adams. Whew. I don't know if I need to touch that. I mean, your worst player at this point is probably Anunoby or maybe Marcus Smart. What's going on? I haven't checked out Marcus Smart in a while. Yeah, your worst player is probably OG Anunoby. Man, I think you're looking like I don't really see anyone that I can cut on this list. If you can move Darius Garland to the IR, but I mean, I was also going to bring up Darius Garland as a guy to hold on to. But dang, Aiden, that team's looking pretty good. But I'm trying to find another potential. If we can beat a guy like Patty Mills, we'll see if we can do it. So Justin Holiday, he's about 22.3% owned. I'll tell you what, I might be more interested in Justin Holiday if he's available than Patty Mills because I think he's going to play more. He's not as streaky. I mean, he is a kind of a streaky scorer, but he's going to get you more categories. He's going to. I mean, you play in a points league, but I like that he kind of spreads out his potential points with rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. So I think for me, I'm gonna probably say give me Justin Holiday. And again, he does play in that awesome 5-game stand. I don't know if you're able to get him in before the game starts tonight, but he does play 5 games. And the San Antonio Spurs, they only got 3. So I think for a week, let's ride with Justin Holiday and see where that's going. I think that's a really good potential spot there. Also, I was kind of looking. They just ruled somebody out for the Pacers for tonight's game. So for sure, Justin Holiday is a guy I think I would take over Patty Mills. Yeah, they ruled TJ McConnell out for tonight, so he's not playing. So you're probably going to see a heavy workload for a guy like Justin Holiday. So I think that's the guy that I'm going to like the most. So who's this Jacob kid? What's going on? So who's someone I can try to get for McCollum? Category league. By the way, okay. So when I think about here, let's actually just pull up my draft recap from this because I don't know. When I'm thinking, if I'm trying to buy McCollum, part of my thought process goes into, okay, where was he drafted? So in this one, he was round 5, 4th overall. So I think that's 52nd overall. But the way McCollum is playing is you're potentially getting a top 15, a top 20 player. So if you know somebody that really likes the Blazers or just likes McCollum in general, someone that needs threes, you might be able to switch out McCollum for a guy that should give you more value and should have been a higher draft pick. So let me just kind of filter this and let's just see where McCollum actually is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he's playing like the 15th best player, but this is on a points per game base. This is a points league. So if you're playing categories and you think you can help somebody with the threes, Um, I don't know, Jacob's kid. Is there a specific position that you're looking for to get in mind? Are you good on threes and some of the other stats there? Would you like to hit on some kind of other stat there? Because if you're looking to just kind of swap out a guy like McCollum for somebody else, with similar, similar numbers. I mean, you might be able to get the Steph Curry guy, a potential buy low for Steph Curry. I kind of like Malcolm Brogdon. I think Malcolm Brogdon's got a much higher floor than CJ McCollum, on a nightly basis. And McCollum, I mean, McCollum can put up 50 points every now and then, but I really like the floor of Malcolm Brogdon. That's kind of like that's like an even trade because both guys in this league, they were drafted in the 5th round. So that's kind of like an even swap, but I think you should probably head a little higher. And whatever happened with if you want to try to get Jason Tatum, a guy that's going to be out for a little bit with the COVID, this might be the right opportunity to get a guy like Jason Tatum. This would probably be one of my best, number one recommendations to buy right now. Guys that are on COVID, and if you, it's 1 week. I don't know how long your guys' season is. If it's 17, 18 regular season weeks. I mean, what's 1 week in the grand scheme of things? I mean, we know Jason Tatum's one of the best players in the league right now, and if you can get him on a discount where someone's like, "Oh, let's get rid of him. He's out for the week." This might be an opportunity to get a guy like Jason Tatum. So if you're thinking about moving McCollum, I would definitely go to like the all players tab and just look for some of the names around him, and then think about guys that were drafted ahead of McCollum, because I think you've earned a little bit of equity with McCollum where you can cash in some value. I mean, I really like guys like, again, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon. I know Brown's kind of got a thing going on right now. So he might have been on the watch list there. Brandon Ingram's a really fun player. So like I if I'm looking to trade McCollum, I'm looking for someone kind of in his area who's maybe not performing as well as we thought, but that eventually should get corrected, and McCollum should maybe slide down a little bit. So I would definitely kind of look in this area of names and potentially get yourself like a 2nd or 3rd round pick in exchange for McCollum. So I have Holiday right now and could pick up Patty instead of OG Anunoby. So I have Holiday right now and could pick up Patty instead of OG Anunoby. How many games does our boy OG have? So the Raptors only played 3, same as the Spurs here. So maybe OG Anunoby here. So I mean, at that point, I think OG Anunoby, I kind of like the upside with him. He has been kind of sporadic at points, but just looking ahead at his schedule, I mean, we know his low points are 13, 15, so he's kind of got a Patty Mills vibe to some of these numbers here. But I like the opportunity. I want a guy that's going to play 35 minutes. So I think I'm going to stick with OG. And again, they both played 3 games this week. The Spurs are playing Oklahoma, Houston, and then the Raptors get Portland, Charlotte. I think I like the Raptors schedule a little bit better in that one for higher scoring. So let me see what else we got here in the chat room. Top pickups over 50% are Josh Richardson, Lou Williams, Jaren Jackson, D. Rose, Anthony Edwards, Terrence Ross, Goran Dragic, and Joe Harris. Aiden. If you can get Terrence Ross, I think Terrence Ross should be a lot more owned than what he is. Let me just kind of let's just do this. I'm filtering to all available. I think Terrence Ross is averaging somewhere like up in the high 20s points per game, and his ownership is just not equaling that at all. So we're looking for Terrence Ross. Let me see if I can find him quickly. Where is Mr. Ross? Maybe I'll just filter here by Orlando. So Orlando's playing the Bucks right now. Terrence Ross averaging 25 fantasy points per game in this scoring system. He's about 56.6% owned. And I really like Terrence Ross. He's kind of struggled the last 2 games. But this team is looking for scoring with Markelle Fultz down. You got a rookie point guard there in Cole Anthony. But for the most part, this Terrence Ross was hitting up some big numbers here for a while to start the season. So I really think Terrence Ross deserves to be in a lineup. I do like Joe Harris. He's kind of streaky at times. Dragic seems a little hard to trust. If you're looking for a guy with upside, I mean, Anthony Edwards has actually been playing some pretty consistent basketball too. He's averaging a little bit less. He kind of had a stinker the last couple games against San Antonio, so I'm a little bit less excited about him. Jaren Jackson, that's a hold for now. Especially if you have an IR spot, I'm totally cool with holding on to Jaren Jackson, but I don't think he's a must hold at the moment. Derrick Rose, I don't like the low minutes and the kind of inconsistency. He's very efficient with his limited minutes, but I prefer Terrence Ross still over him. And then the last one I wanted to look up was Lou Williams. Lou's been disappointing. He was a 7th-round draft pick in this league. So I'm taking Terrence Ross is kind of the new version of Lou Williams in my opinion. So I'm going Terrence Ross there. And then with Josh Richardson, I know a lot of people were excited about him with Dallas, but it really just hasn't come to a lot of consistent points. So I think for me, Terrence Ross, Aiden is the guy that I would go with. Let's see here. So Jacob is dominating in points, which is why I'm trying to sell, but I'm also close in assists and want to find someone that really helps with that. It's going to be tough to get a guy like Steph Curry, but that was kind of the first name that came to mind. He was a 1st-round pick, though. But if someone needs help in that department, one, you're also getting threes, so maybe you're not losing many points there in the 3 column with McCollum. But Steph Curry definitely gets quite a bit of assists. He's averaging 6.7 at the moment right now. Let me just filter here by averages real quick. So again, McCollum's averaging a little bit more than Steph Curry. They're pretty equal at the moment right now. So that could be your case to say, hey, McCollum's getting more numbers and more stats at the moment right now. Curry's probably going to average pretty similar towards the end of the season, but a little bit boost in the assist column there. If you're looking for more of a big guy, I don't know if you specifically want a point guard or a shooting guard, but maybe you look for a guy that's passing the ball as a big man pretty well. That could be something that interests here. And the guy that I would call up again is Julius Randle, because he's averaging 7.1 assists per game this year. So you're going to take a hit with the 3-point shooting, but you're also getting better probably rebounding. And then the points might not be all that different. Maybe just like 4 or 5 points per game less there too. So if you need someone, to kind of add some muscle to your team, maybe Randle is the guy. Maybe let's just kind of filter by assists real quick here too. If you're looking for a little bit of a notch at assists, you're not going to get a Westbrook, Harden, Jokic, Young. Maybe talk to the Trae Young owner, just see how he's feeling. How do you feel about a guy like Kyle Lowry? This is a guy that he can go off for points any given night, but he's going to give you more rebounds and he's probably going to give you more assists. So he's getting 5.6 rebounds per game, 7.3. He also gets a steal per game here too. So it's not the greatest. I think I'd rather keep McCollum in that situation. But essentially, you're looking for a guy that can get you probably 7 assists per night. I just want to see what McCollum has been doing. McCollum's averaging about 5. So if you can get somewhere in the 6s to 7s for the most part, but you also want a guy that's going to average over 40 points per game here. So I think I'm going to stick with probably Curry or Lillard. I would maybe target those guys if you're looking strictly for point guards. He's got Tatum. So let's take a look here at Robert Covington real quick. Robert Covington. If you guys got any more buy, sell, trade questions, we can keep doing that. I think that might be kind of my Monday night thing going forward, where we just open it up for the waiver wire. We can talk any decisions you guys got going on here. So Robert Covington or Patty Mills. So I do like the playing time here, but this seems really inconsistent for me. I don't know if I can trust this on a nightly basis. His 12, his 13s. He does have a good game every now and then. But maybe if you're looking strictly at this week, the Portland Trailblazers do have an extra game. I think that might tip my hat towards Robert Covington here. So it's close, and I think just because it's the 4 games to the 3 games, I'll probably go with Covington. And just looking strictly at the 4 games, you might be able to get 70 points out of him. At least 70 points I would hope for. So I think just based on those 4 games, I would just take it for the week here. So when is Ja Morant coming back? So we're playing Bane. Okay, so let's just see what Mr. Morant has been up to. I haven't heard of any updates recently. Looks like they don't have anything specifically here. So let's just do a little simple search, see what we can find. So Ja Morant return. We have the estimate of 3 to 5 weeks. This came out on December 30th. So I mean, at that point, first week of January, second week, third. So we're kind of, in that late second, the third week here. So it might be another 2 to 3 weeks that we're out. There is an article here, quickly return. We'll see what happens here. 3 to 5 weeks. So maybe early February. I think that's probably the earliest that we're going to see a guy like Morant back here. So, I mean, if you're looking to maybe buy someone low that's on someone's waiver wire, John Morant could be maybe bought for a pretty good fraction. I mean, he was probably a second or third round pick in most leagues. So maybe he's a target there for you. Getting Wiggins and Mitch for Allen and Blake Griffin. Sorry, no, that's okay, man. No worries. So we're getting Andrew Wiggins and Mitchell Robinson for Jarrett Allen and Blake Griffin. I'm good with that. Blake Griffin's kind of like a walking skeleton of glass at this point. And I really like Jarrett Allen, but I don't mind the switch to Mitch. And then I think you're getting the better player with Wiggins. So I think we're in a good spot there. So Aiden's got Kemba in the IR. And then did we win or lose this trade? So we're giving up Hero, Jaylen Brown, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo's been on a tear lately. You got LaMelo and Carmelo for Steph Curry, Bam Adebayo. I mean, in hindsight, Steph Curry and Bam Adebayo, those are two kind of staples. Carmelo Anthony, he's kind of just like he's probably like the worst player on someone's team, kind of guy. He can be on and off the waiver wire. He's only averaging about just under 20 points, so I don't think he's a big necessarily piece there. And I haven't checked out Tyler Hero's numbers lately, but he's actually been playing decent. I just don't like the inconsistency. It's either 15, 16 or a 40-point game there. And then Jaylen Brown, that's probably the one piece that I would like to have back. But then you got LaMelo Ball, who I guess at the time right now, it's not looking like the best deal because LaMelo's been turning it on. 55, 36 and a half, 29, 37, 40, 30, 42. So probably when you made that trade, we were looking at LaMelo being a guy that was playing, 15 to 20 minutes. But I think at the moment right now, I would probably have liked Jaylen Brown, LaMelo, and Tyler Hero, but I do think with Curry and Bam Adebayo, that gave you some star power to maybe work on some of your depth here. So you're probably able to find someone that could help you out, fill those points here. So it's kind of a push. You're getting the top two players probably on the list, whereas the other team's getting a little bit more depth. So I guess it's depending on how you look at it. If you want the depth, I like the guys you sent away. If you want the studs and kind of just stack a little bit heavy top there, I think Curry and Bam Adebayo are just fine here. So I'm not sure if I answered everyone's questions correctly here, but I kind of want to just kind of keep looking. Maybe let's just kind of filter again. We were kind of, I don't know, like we were just looking for, fantasy players here that might be under the radar. So I'm going to go ahead and filter here by the last 7 days. We're going to filter here by average fantasy points. And I'm just going to go down the list, and I'm purely looking at this percent ownership column to see who sticks out. So DeAndre Hunter, this is a guy that I wanted to talk about. In terms of buy or sell, I'm buying DeAndre Hunter. He's been playing fantastic. I love how many minutes he's getting. He has the ability to put over 20 points a night, and then he's super consistent with these rebounds. I think I'm a fantasy player that values consistency. I mean, I'll take a guy that averages 25 a night every night versus the guy that averages, 26, and it's kind of spread out. That's just how my mind works. I like to see the 30 plus points every night per game here. So Hunter, playing some really good minutes here for the Atlanta Hawks, getting consistent points. You can see his range of outcomes has been 17 to 23 points the last 5 nights, and he's getting 5 to 8 rebounds, which I like a lot. He'll chip in a little bit with the assists. I think this 5 might be a little bit of an outlier here. And then the steals and the blocks, he's going to get something every night here. So DeAndre Hunter, less than 80% owned. I mean, at this point, this is the guy that should be in the 90% ownership here. So if the owner doesn't really know what he has with DeAndre Hunter, you might be able to buy low on him. I think most people bought him in the free agency, so they're not going to have a huge attachment to him. It's not like you spent like a 7th round pick on him. So he should be a little bit easier to acquire than, like a typical stud. So I really do like DeAndre Hunter there. Let me see what we got going on here. So Jacob's team is Karl-Anthony Towns, Tatum, Drummond, D'Angelo, McCollum, Randall, nice, Sexton, LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Hardaway, Bridges, Seth Curry, Richardson, and Portis. Dang, this is a good team. So maybe if you think you can get Curry, maybe you have to send McCollum and somebody else. Like if you have to do a 2-for-1 and you have to give up a Hardaway or a Richardson to get rid of one of your Mavericks, that might be doable. 'Cause I mean, if you ask anybody, any logical person, they would probably rather have Steph Curry over McCollum. So maybe you have to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit. But if that interests you, I think that sometimes that's what you have to do because a guy like Hardaway, who's been playing some good ball lately. I just want to make sure I'm looking at his averages lately. He had that sick dunk the other night. That was him, right? No, that was Dorian Finney-Smith. So Hardaway is playing good. So maybe I wouldn't trade him away. The one guy here though, maybe Josh Richardson would be the one to kind of push with McCollum. He is out, quarantined for 7 days, so maybe that's kind of hard to push here. But that's a bummer. So I don't know. Your team is very good though. Your team is very good. I think Seth Curry is also on that list as well. But maybe just one of the things that I like to tell people is you have to have conversation with your trading partner. You can't just kind of walk into the ESPN app and just fling a trade and expect it to go well. I'd like to, before I even send a trade, I'll talk to that person first and just be like, hey, is he on the table? Do you like X, Y, and Z from my team? And you kind of just keep pushing things together out there on the table. So if you're looking for a player of Curry's caliber, I mean, that's going to be like, prying it from his hands. That's going to be a little tough. So it might need to grease his wheel a little bit and maybe send a 2-for-1 situation. Or if you're comfortable with sending another stud and maybe getting 2 studs in return, that's always, a helpful piece too. So Justin is going to keep Holiday and keep Rocco until his back-to-back, then drop him. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, play the matchups. Check Diallo was basically one of the other guys that I wanted to. Hamadou, never mind, my bad. I'm thinking Chick Diallo. But Hamadou had the banger night the last 2 nights here, the 8th and the 10th of January. He's not playing a lot of minutes, but I do like the spike here, 24 and 29, 25 and 23 points. The rebounds and the assists, like this looks like he's going to get 2 to 4 assists per game here. I don't think we can expect 11 rebounds, like every other night, but I do like, the 6 to 8 range. I think that's totally doable here. The steals was a really nice boost too, but I don't think you can expect 4 steals every night. You're probably looking for 1 and hoping for 2. But this is a guy here who he's had 2 of his best games, maybe of his season and his career so far, back to back. And again, he's only 9.4% owned. So he's probably the one must-add player of the week here. I didn't think of him because we were thinking of point guards earlier, but if you can plug in a shooting guard at that position or just at the top and you have other point guards to use, I definitely recommend Diallo is probably one of my favorite waiver wire ads to get this week. And you can see the KGB there. I was able to scoop him up in one of my leagues. No problem, Jacob. Yeah, you can always come and ask questions, whatever you need. I think Monday night would be my waiver wire. Just from a schedule standpoint going forward, Tuesday nights I'm typically hanging out with my guys Drake and John. That's more of just a conversation that we have, catching up and looking at things as a whole, and then kind of letting the chat room questions, kind of pop in and out. But Monday nights, I think this is going to be my kind of open book where we just hop with whatever you guys need, and hopefully we can help and talk through things. So Trey Young. So the Atlanta Hawks have been frustrating, and especially Trey Young's last 2 games. I don't know what happened in the Charlotte game here. He was just off, and I don't really like these high turnover numbers either here. So it's almost like he's forcing it. And I mean, you trigger Trey. He's been chucking up a lot of shots. The offense hasn't really been clicking, although I do like DeAndre Hunter still. But again, he's getting the minutes. This might be a guy to potentially to buy low on. I mean, if you're a Trey Young owner, you drafted him probably in the top 10, top 12 of drafts, and all of a sudden you get 36 points in the last 2 games. So I really think that maybe the young owner is frustrated. If you are a young owner, I'm holding. I'm not flinging Trey Young for anything. The first week and a half, everyone was super pumped about what they were getting in returns from Young. But all of a sudden, maybe this opens up a little window here where you could potentially get him for just a little bit, a little bit off. So if Jacob is still around and you want to go get a guy like Trae Young, I mean, this might be the only time we get a string of these kind of games. So it's worth talking about it. And the other thing too is if Jacob is still in here, he's asking the question about maybe moving McCollum. I mean, it depends on how savvy your league is. I know the first things that my fantasy league members look at is how many points is he averaging and what has he done the last 4 or 5 games here. They really look at this game log, and I think they're going to like McCollum's numbers a little bit better. And the thing about Trae Young too, Jacob, is look at those assist numbers. He's averaging 8.6. You see some double-digit assist numbers, which is really nice. So maybe we put Trae Young on the list. If you can't get a Curry, maybe you can get a Trae Young. I think that would be a pretty good opportunity. So I'm holding Trae Young, potential buy low opportunity there. I'm never selling low on a guy like Trae Young. I expect him to bounce back for sure. Let's see. No problem, Justin. Thank you guys for hanging out. Don't forget to hit that like button on the somewhere over here, wherever it is. But that like button really helps too, because it lets YouTube know that this is a worthwhile video, and it helps push out the algorithm to get it to other viewers. So so we're going to fantasy football mocks going. Yes. I think are you talking like in terms of like the NFL draft? Like, will I put up mock drafts? I definitely will look into that. I think I might even have a friend or two come on and we'll do kind of like a live first round mock draft or something. But I typically wait until after the NFL Combine to put out any of my draft content. At the moment right now, I'm collecting notes. I'm kind of like 15 receivers. Like I like looking at the receivers first. I've done some of the running backs and some of the quarterbacks, but I spend a lot of time watching tape and just looking at everything. But it's not until after the Combine is when I start to put out my things. But we're going to have some fantasy football mock drafts probably starting after the real draft. I think maybe May is when I'll first do my real fantasy football mock, and then leading up into the NFL draft, we'll put out some mock draft potential stuff there. Awesome. Yeah, glad to, because I noticed your team has a lot of the players that me, John, and Drake were talking about here. So you did pretty well. It looks like you're probably at least 2-1 at this point, I would imagine. So so Ricky Rubio, Tate, and Caruso for Trey Sound. So this is the big 20-point league, or the 20-man league here. So let me see here. So Jashawn Tate, is this who we're talking about? The young guy for Houston here. So it's a stretch. I mean, if I'm the Trae Young owner, I'm probably not going to do it just because the Trae Young name carries so much weight. But if this is that 20-man league that we're talking about here, potentially, I mean, you're going to be getting about 16 points from this player here. You're going to get what's Caruso been averaging the last few games here. So I don't know why he's out. But maybe so you're almost up to about 30 points between those guys here and Rubio. I still like Ricky Rubio. He can have some pretty good games every now and then. So Rubio obviously is the best player, averaging about 20. So if the guy really needs some help in some other positions, it's worth an offer. But Aiden, I think I would for sure talk to the Trae Young owner first and see, do you want a 2-for-1, a 3-for-1, and you kind of see what he's looking for there? Because I do think people are probably getting frustrated with Trae Young. So conversation is your friend with trades. Because a lot of times, if you send a 2-for-1 or someone, it's easy for them to reject it and to not talk to you. So by opening up the door for conversation, I've just, from my experience, that always gets my trade a little bit closer to being completed. So what's going on, Severin Lund? How you doing tonight? So we need a small forward. Can trade Fox or Hero with Dylan Brooks or OGB worth it? So I need a small forward. We can send away Fox or Tyler Hero. Would Dylan Brooks or OG be worth it? So De'Aaron Fox, that was another. It looks like Fox came up a couple times here. So I really like De'Aaron Fox quite a bit. I don't know what's been going on these last 2 games here. What happened in this Chicago game? So it's for an ESPN points league. Okay. So I think you'd be selling low on Fox right now, especially these, 2 of these last 3 games have not been reflective of what he can do on the season so far. So I think I would hold on to Fox right now. Tyler Hero is a guy that does kind of have a wide range. outcomes, but he's been kind of, hot cold, hot cold. He's been kind of interchanging these games here. So I do think Tyler Hero probably has maybe a little bit more appeal in a trade, especially just looking at some of these numbers recently. You might be able to get more from your return there. So are we taking Dylan Brooks or OG Anunoby for maybe a Tyler Hero type player? So I really like Dylan Brooks. I wonder about his potential. What happens when John Morant comes back? He probably actually just keeps his numbers pretty close to the same. Maybe he loses, some of these assist numbers here. But I would say Dylan Brooks for Tyler Hero. I think I'd rather have Dylan Brooks in that one. It's really close. So that one does make sense to me there. And then me, I've been an OG Anunoby guy from the beginning of the season. At this point, it's been kind of one of those hot cold situations. So I think I'm gonna, if this is your move, I think I would try to send Hero for a Dylan Brooks or an OG Anunoby. But really, like you're pretty. If you're holding on to Fox and Hero, I mean, your team must be pretty good. But if you need a small forward, and then is Dylan Brooks dual eligibility here? I think he is. Okay, because Dylan Brooks is dual, I'm gonna go with Dylan Brooks there. So maybe move Hero for Brooks. And then what about Fox? Like viewer fantasy mocks on mock drafts on Sleeper. Basically all summer, I did multiple mock drafts throughout the summer, like all June, all July, all August, and I did them on like basically every platform. So I used ESPN, I used Yahoo, I used Sleeper, I did some best ball drafts. I tried to spread it out to as many platforms as I could get to. Dang, 3 undefeated teams. It sounds like you got some top heavy action there. The hero of Fox Trade is ESPN Point Standard. Yep. And then, so some players to put on the table. So are you saying to put De'Aaron Fox out on the table then, Aiden? If you're looking at moving Aaron Fox, I think I would hold. Maybe I wouldn't move Aaron Fox until he has one of those big games. Because if you just hold on to the last 3 games have been a little tough. I mean, as soon as he puts up, one of these back-to-back 40-point games, I think that's the time to move and pounce and maybe swap out a guy. Maybe you get a 2-for-1 or something like that. But I think just on what he's done this might scare off an owner and drive his value down, especially just seeing this weird 5-minute game. I think he got hurt in that one, if I remember correctly. But I think I would hold on to Fox if you're looking at sending somebody. That I think I definitely would wait there in a sec. So let me see what else we got going on here. So Severin's in first place. We got Jaren Jackson on IR. So not sure if it's good to have both Brooks. I wouldn't worry too much about that. It does feel weird to have especially if you have like 3 players from one team, that does get a little nervous. I think in this league that I have right here, though, I have 3 dudes from Memphis, and I really don't mind it because I picked up. And so in this league, I got Tyus Jones, I got Kyle Anderson, and I have Brandon Clark. So I'm riding basically half of Memphis's points right now. So I don't mind it. It's more concentrated, and I think once Jaren Jackson comes back, it could. They're not going to compete too much for the most part. They kind of get different areas of the floor, different body sizes and stuff. So I don't think that scares me off too much. But you might be able to move Jaren Jackson too if he comes back. But it's probably going to be a slow ramp up period for him. So I think we're going to be okay without worrying about that for too much longer yet. So Aiden's asking, who do you think I can get for Pat Williams and Tate in the 20-person league with the broken? Yes, Tate ranked 99 and Pat 97 and Trey 107. Yikes. Okay, so that's the league where the points equal 3-pointers equal 5 points, if I'm correct here. So I wish I could I wish I could filter and see who does all the threes here. Maybe I'll have to go to NBA.com. Oh, not NAB. I'm not trying to nab. NBA stats, and I'm just going to look and see who's kind of hammering the 3-pointers here. So let's go with points. No, that's team. My bad here. So players, 3-pointers made. So this is what we're looking for. What do you think I can get for Pat Williams and Tate in the 20-person league with 3 broken? Okay, so 3-pointers made. So we're probably looking for some lower tier players. Alec Burks, maybe I think he's still hurt at the moment right now. Let me just double check this real quick. So he's in a walking boot right now, but he's probably coming back pretty shortly. He hasn't played since late December, but this might be a guy to keep an eye on the waiver wire if you're looking for 3-pointers here. Let me go back to that NBA stats page here. This is a tough question. Pat Williams and Tate. So you're trying to trade both guys. So essentially you're looking for someone that's still kind of on the bottom tier of things, but just make some threes. So this is tough. I mean, can you get Seth Curry? He wasn't really highly drafted. Patty Mills might be a guy worth looking into. So I'm just looking for guys that maybe people don't really respect too much. Cam Johnson, that's a pretty good buy low opportunity there. Sadiq Bey is actually hitting 2.6 threes per game here too. Darius Garland, I know Garland's coming back soon, but I really think Darius Garland should be a guy there. Gary Trent Jr. hits a couple. J. Michael Green actually hits a couple here for a big guy. I don't know if J. Michael Green's available here. I don't know. I struggle with these questions because it's 20 teams. I'm just thinking anybody around two threes per game. Lugens Dort. Dort kind of had a pop off to the start of the year. Maybe Dort might be a guy worth checking in on. Marcus Smart, George Hill's pretty good 3-point shooter. Probably can't get Halliburton. But definitely, I don't know. If any of these guys stick out here, I just filtered by 3-pointers made here. So I think that would probably be where I start. And I wish, because I can't see the percent ownership of things with I don't have the 3-point stat here because I don't play categories, which could be something I play in the future. So I hope that helped. Maybe I gave you a couple names there to keep an eye out for. Any thoughts on DeAndre Hunter's slow start in a 12-team points league? So you probably ended up taking DeAndre Ayton in like the 3rd round, I would bet. And as kind of frustrating as he's been, he's still the 8th ranked player, but his points are kind of low here, which is frustrating. So the thing that I can think of here is it's been a slow start because they're implementing a new offense with Chris Paul, and he's been kind of touch and go from the start too. So I think for now we've developed a pretty good floor. He's averaging over 30 points per game, so I do like this, and we really haven't seen one of those monster games from him where he's going to hit like 20 boards and like 20 points. So if you're just patient, I think that's going to continue to get better and better in Phoenix. And we're 3 weeks into the season. I think a lot of teams are still kind of figuring themselves out. It's been kind of a weird, 2-week preseason stretch for the most part. So I do think Ayton's a slow start, but the Suns in general kind of had a slow start. So I would expect at this point, 31.7, maybe he gets that up a little bit, towards the season, the midway point of the season here. But we really haven't seen that monster game yet, too. So I think it's coming as the Suns get a little bit more under their feet here. So hopefully soon here, man. Just hold on. 12-team league. You still got a top 10 center. So we're doing pretty good. So it doesn't have to be a 3-point shooter. Okay. So let me look here because I'm just kind of curious. Let me just type in Tate's. So Tate ownership is about 0.3% rostered. And let's see here. Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is probably a little bit more owned. So 13.9% here. So Patrick Williams might actually be able to get you somebody a little bit more valuable than I'm thinking. So at 16 point whatever percent ownership, about 13.9 plus, basically you're throwing in Tate for free. So maybe, I don't know. I really like Terrence Ross. I don't know if the other owner is going to get rid of him. He's 56% owned. That was the first player that came to mind. But you're probably looking for somebody in that 25 to 40% owned. Let me just kind of quick check real here. Donovan Mitchell. I do like Donovan Mitchell. We'll talk about him in a second. I just want to kind of look for players that are about 25% owned here and that are putting up a decent amount of points. So a guy like Josh Jackson, who it's his first couple games back from injury. He's only got 10 and 12 points, but before that, he was averaging, he was one of the best scorers for the Detroit Pistons. So this might be a guy worth looking into. I definitely would take Josh Jackson over Patrick Williams, I think, going forward. I think the opportunity is going to be more consistent and better. These were his first 2 games back from an ankle injury, so it could get better here. So maybe Josh Jackson might be the guy for you to target. Because essentially, I don't know how much Tate offers. He's kind of like a role player that could be started there. But for Patrick Williams, essentially to get to get Josh Jackson, I think that might be kind of where I'm looking. That one does kind of make sense. I think that's probably the guy worth a look for sure. But again, Patrick Williams is playing decent this year. Maybe we look, maybe one more check here. I'm just looking for a guy that's going to average a little bit more than 20 points. Try for Hamidou Diallo. This guy's been going off. He might be hard to trade with these 40-point games recently here, but he's only 9.4% rostered. Check it out. Maybe you can get a piece of him there. Yeah, go watch LaMelo Ball, and don't forget we got Alabama, Ohio State tonight, guys. That's coming on pretty soon here. So I've been going live for about 50 minutes. So how about we hang out another 5 minutes or so before 7? So we'll answer this Donovan Mitchell question real quick. Donovan Mitchell, man, he's been, for I think a second-round pick, he's been a third-round pick in my league, but he's been pretty frustrating. His lows have been low. We can't have a 20-point game, a 26 against the Knicks. I think I'd be comfortable with a 32-point game, but he really, I mean, he's had the one 32-point game here against Milwaukee, 5-7, but he's not really hitting his stride yet. I don't really have my finger on it yet because a lot of the Utah Jazz is kind of all, it's all together. So I really like Donovan Mitchell. This might be a buy low opportunity because he was, a potential late second, third round pick in most leagues, probably taken somewhere in the 30s from a draft here. So Donovan Mitchell is definitely on my buy low list. I think people might be a little bit frustrated with him. But again, that 50-point game here, that might change some people's minds here. But he's definitely underperforming what we thought he was. So I think if you have Donovan Mitchell, be patient. He's a hold. But if you're looking to kind of shake things up with your roster, just see what the Donovan Mitchell owner is up to. See how he's feeling here. So Nick's saying, I'm still rostering Cousins because his production per minute is so amazing. Man, I have the same thoughts. I have in my big money league, I do have DeMarcus Cousins. The man's been injected twice in the last 2 weeks. It's frustrating because, man, I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday night. We got that beautiful 40-point game out of him. That game also was without Christian Woods. I think that's why he got the minutes. But all I want is I just want him to hit 20 minutes consistently because we know he's going to get 25, 30 fantasy points for us. So I also think it's part of a ramp-up period with him. I mean, the fact that they were able to give him 24 minutes, Christian Wood wasn't in the game that game. I do think he's eventually going to start hitting 20 minutes consistently here. And basically, the more they see him, I think it's going to be harder to keep him off the floor because he's like the Tasmanian devil for big men out there. He kind of just he's a magnet for chaos. So I do think we're going to hold on to DeMarcus Cousins, and he just needs to go, do some anger management classes, I think, some Goose Fraba. But he's averaging 18.5, but that's not really telling the story because he's been ejected twice, this Dallas game and this Lakers game. And we've seen 21.25 and a 44.5. So I think he's going to settle somewhere in these ranges. I do like the 17 minutes as a floor, 23 minutes maybe on the high end and room for growth here. But double-doubles are coming, guys. If he can just average 20 minutes per game, he's going to be flirting with those double-doubles. So I really like DeMarcus Cousins. At 50% owned, basically, maybe this is a buy low candidate here. See what the DeMarcus Cousins owner is feeling. If he's available, you should probably pick him up. He's definitely worth it being your worst guy on the roster. Again, he's been ejected in 2 games, which is not the best here. But otherwise, he's been playing like we said here with Nick, very high points per minutes player here. So Tate isn't bad. So he must be hitting some threes for you, at least maybe 1 point something per game. So I don't know, maybe if it makes sense. Let's see here. Same amount of points as Kevin Huerter. Wow. So okay, so he must be hitting some threes. I guess Aiden, does it make sense? I guess I'm struggling here because I struggle to put my mind, thinking around a 20-man league and in terms of how that roster construction going, for other players here. So a guy like Patrick Williams, he does have value like in 12-team leagues even. So you should be able to get a guy that has a decent amount of value. And then if you add in Tate, that should be a little bit boost there. I was just kind of thinking of guys in that 25 to 40% ownership range. Again, let me just kind of go to that real quick and see if anybody shakes out that I like. So we're looking at, this is under 2. So a guy that might get some opportunity going forward is Davis Bertans. This guy's a 3-point, shooter. And now that Thomas Bryant's out for the year, You might see them go a little bit small ball here too. I know Moritz Wagner's a guy worth probably adding. We didn't talk about him at all, but Bertans has been kind of inconsistent. He's not really well owned, 25.8%, but this is a guy that's going to get rebounds. He's going to pass the ball every now and then. He does get some steals too, but this guy's he's a 3-point shooter. 4 for 9 the other night here on the January 8th. So he sticks out here. Again, Tyus Jones, like we got Ja Morant coming back, but even when Morant comes back, we might see some good numbers from here too. Let me see what else we got here. Again, I do like Josh Jackson. He's been kind of slow in his first couple games back, but this is a player here that, I mean, straight up, I would probably take him over Patrick Williams. He's going to probably be, back up into these 28 to 30 minutes per game. And he kind of was almost their leading scorer for the first week and a half of basketball here. So I do like him. But maybe let me just aim a little bit higher here and see if there's any aspirational thoughts of someone we can get here. So you're saying he's higher than Kevin Huerter. I don't know. What do you think about a guy like Bobby Portis? But Portis has been playing some really good ball lately. He's had a couple, poor games here. Looks like he's doing pretty well against Orlando tonight here. But Portis, man, about 41% owned, 26 per game. He's been playing some good ball for the Bucks. So I like a guy like him. Maybe one more, Kyle Anderson. I don't know if you can get a guy like Kyle Anderson. Super steady. He's not going to, get these 48s and these 35s. These 45s anymore, but he's kind of on that fringe there where now he's kind of slowed down from his growth. So someone like that might be an attractive buy there. So depth means a lot and start means a lot. And that's the league where you can just lock your guy in, and then between 80 and 50% people don't really value. Yeah, that's tough. And then, yeah, for sure keep DeMarcus Cousins. Let me try to think. I don't need bigs. We got Vucevic and Drummond. So if you're looking for more of like a shooting guard, small forward type position here. I mean, now we're starting to get too high on the list. I really like Terrence Ross. I don't know if you can get a guy like Terrence Ross, but he's kind of had some weaker games the last few games. I for sure would take Terrence Ross over Patrick Williams. But if you're saying you don't need the depth, you'd rather change out the 2 depth pieces for a starter. I would look at Terrence Ross and see what that owner's thinking. Rui Hachimura is actually a guy that's going to get a lot of opportunity coming forward too. Now that Thomas Bryant is out, the Wizards might kind of play some pseudo small ball here and try some interesting lineups now that Bryant's out for the year. So this is definitely a player, Rui Hachimura. He should be owned in every league. 55.6, that's way too low. So he might be an interesting buy low candidate there for you. So you're good on center. Let's go Ohio State. Yeah, man, good reminder there. I should probably sign out of here tonight. But for sure, tomorrow night we'll be back 6 to 7. I'll be hanging out with my good friends John and Drake. I'm not sure what our topic is going to be, but we'll kind of be loose and whatever else we need to talk about. Nick Q's got one more thing. So yeah, Evan Fournier. He kind of had a weird start to the year. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup. I don't think he's playing tonight, but if anyone drops Evan Fournier, he's worth a scoop. He's, one of the best shooters on the Orlando Magic. So I do think just keep an eye on him. I didn't look to see what his percent ownership is, but he should definitely be a guy to put on your watch list at least and just kind of monitor him. But I want to thank everyone for hanging out tonight. Go watch the Alabama-Ohio State game. Good luck with your matchups this week. But again, tomorrow night we'll be going live with John and Drake, 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good night, and we'll see you in another video. Peace.